Is the private placement my marketing material? Great question. This is a really important topic. Comes up all the time. I think most people think about it exactly backwards of what's real. So let's examine this here real quick. First, your private placement, let's talk about what it is. The private placement, a memorandum, PPM for short, is comprised of three different pieces. First is the private placement, and the private placement is the word place in the stock market business means to sell. So you're placing or selling shares of stock in your LLC. So that's what the document is for. It's to place the shares or sell them. So you have to describe the terms of sale, and there's a lot of legal things that have to happen, which is why an attorney has to draw this up. They have to tell the investors everything they need to know about the shares, the risks, the benefits, the terms, all the details before they can move forward. And I'm not an attorney, so I don't do that kind of work. The second component is the operating agreement. The operating agreement describes the relationship between the investors and the promoter. Who's going to get what, how the payouts are going to work, how many shares of stock are available, what percent you get for each one, and all the different pieces. That's all part of your operating agreement. So the private placement describes the deal, a lot of duplication with the operating agreement, and that summarizes that deal. Finally is the subscription agreement, and the subscription agreement is the document. It's basically the sign-up form. It's the form that the investor fills out that demonstrates that they're qualified to be in your deal and that they meet the requirements, and you capture their social security information and everything so you can do their tax return and send them their payouts and all the things that you need. And so there's three different pieces to the document. These three pieces, if you stop and think about it, these are not marketing pieces. These are important legal documents that have been prepared by an attorney. Now, I don't know about you, but in my mind, attorney and marketer are not in the same sentence. They don't go together. So the marketing material is totally separate and apart from your private placement memorandum and all those legal materials. The purpose of the legal materials from attorneys who explain this very well will tell you that the purpose is to let the investor know everything that there is to know, even the scary stuff. Very scary stuff. You could lose all your money and all these things could go wrong. And the reason they tell them that is because by telling you up front, if you decide to get involved in the deal, you can't later on say, well, gee, if I would have known that, I never would have done this deal. Or you can't say, well, gee, I didn't know I could lose money, or I didn't know this, or I didn't know that. So the private placement is not marketing material. It's honest, direct information that the investor needs in order to move forward with you and your deal. Really important distinction. Now, the marketing material, we use an executive overview format. It's about 10 pages long. It describes the deal in nice, friendly language, not fluffy language, though. And you got to remember that anything related to the offering of the shares has to be passed through the attorney because it's all part of the same offering. So any website that you create, any PowerPoint slides you create, any executive overview materials you create, but we use the executive overview to stimulate discussion with the investor. Let the person have a sense about what the issues are in the deal, what all the big picture pieces look like, what's going to happen. We don't make promises about returns and other kinds of things, but it basically explains all the details, or the summary details that they need to know so that they can say, gee, this looks interesting. I would like to know more. And when they want to know more, that's when you go deep into the private placement, because the private placement and all those documents have everything. Now, the people may not read every single word, and they may come to you with questions, and you need to be fluent in your own deal so you can explain it. But the private placement is designed to scare people away. I mean, that's what attorneys do, is they tell you all these things that could go wrong, and then it makes it very hard for you to come back and say, well, gee, if I'd have known any of those things, I wouldn't have ever invested, because you did look at the document before, you did see it, you did sign it, you did read it, you did all the things you're supposed to do, and those investors, when they confirm that they've read it, have a hard time going back and saying, well, gee, I really didn't understand that it was as bad as this, or whatever they say. And people always say different things. But what's really important is that it makes it hard for an attorney to take a case given that level of documentation. So anyway, very important distinction. The marketing material is the marketing material, summary in nature, but still not fluffy and not filled with pie in the sky kind of stuff. And the attorney needs to review that to make sure that you're doing it all right. So Keep an eye on that. Do it the right way, because this is a great business. Just go out and stake your claim.